When a self-made billionaire walks into his own luxury car dealership dressed in worn jeans and a faded jacket, he expects to observe his business quietly. What he doesn't expect is to come face-to-face with the woman who shattered his heart and her new boyfriend who's about to make the biggest mistake of his life. Hey, everyone! Welcome back to the channel. Before we dive into this absolutely wild story, I want to know, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And hey, how's your day going? If you're new here or haven't subscribed yet, do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button. You're not going to want to miss what happens next. Trust me on this one. The autumn wind cut through the Dallas streets as Nathan Dawson stood across from Prestige Motors, watching the gleaming showroom windows reflect the late afternoon sun. His hands were shoved deep into the pockets of a jacket that had seen better days, deliberately chosen from the back of his closet that morning. The jeans were authentically worn, not the expensive kind designed to look distressed. His usual $2,000 shoes had been replaced with scuffed sneakers. He looked like a man who'd saved for months just to walk through those doors. Which was exactly the point. Nathan had built Prestige Motors from nothing. 12 years ago, he'd been that man, the one who couldn't afford the cars he now sold to oil tycoons and tech moguls. The one who'd slept in his first office, eaten ramen for dinner, and poured every cent into making his dream real. Now, at 34, he owned 17 dealerships across Texas, each one more successful than the last. But success had taught him something dark about human nature. People revealed their true selves when they thought you were beneath them. His phone buzzed. A text from his operations manager. Boss, the quarterly reports show Dallas location is underperforming. The customer complaints up 23%. You sure you don't want me there? Nathan's jaw tightened. I'm sure. Need to see this myself. He'd been getting complaints for months. Customers treated poorly. Sales tactics that bordered on predatory. His manager at the Dallas location, Derek something or other, had assured him everything was fine. Numbers don't lie, though, and neither do patterns. Nathan needed to see what really happened on that showroom floor when the boss wasn't watching. He crossed the street, his heart rate picking up. Not from nerves, from anticipation. This was the part of business that energized him. The investigation, the truth-seeking, the moment before everything shifted. The glass doors slid open with a whisper. Inside, the showroom was a temple to automotive excellence. Crystal chandeliers caught light off polished chrome. A silver Lamborghini sat center stage like a sculpture. The air smelled of leather and money. Soft jazz played from hidden speakers. Nathan stepped onto the marble floor, taking in everything. 3 salespeople clustered near the coffee bar, laughing. A couple admired a Mercedes in the corner, already attended to. And there, near the back office, his breath caught. Jessica Kapoor. She stood beside a red Porsche, her hand resting possessively on the hood, her honey blonde hair falling in perfect waves over her shoulders. She wore a dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Navy blue, tailored, unmistakably designer. Diamond earrings caught the light. She looked exactly like the woman who'd told him 5 years ago that she couldn't build a future with someone still building their first success. Next to her stood a man in an expensive suit, his arm draped around her waist with casual ownership. Tall, conventionally handsome, with the kind of smile that had probably never been told no in his life. Nathan's chest went tight, but not with the pain he'd expected. That wound had scarred over long ago. What he felt now was something colder. Clearer. Curiosity. What was Jessica doing here? Can I help you? A young saleswoman approached, her smile professional but measuring. Her eyes had already cataloged his appearance. The worn jacket, the old jeans, the unremarkable shoes, and made their calculation. Just browsing, Nathan said, keeping his voice casual. He'd practiced this. The slight slouch, the uncertain tone of someone not quite sure they belonged. Well, let me know if you need anything. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. She'd already dismissed him, already decided he wasn't worth her commission time. She walked away. Nathan moved deeper into the showroom, his eyes tracking the staff. The 3 salespeople near the coffee bar hadn't moved. They'd glanced his direction, assessed, and gone back to their conversation. In 12 years of building this business, that had never been the standard he'd set. He drifted toward the Porsche, toward Jessica, not because he wanted to talk to her, but because he needed to see more. Needed to understand what was happening in his own dealership. Nathan. Her voice stopped him cold.
He turned.
Jessica stared at him, her brown eyes wide with genuine shock. For 3 seconds she said nothing. Then her expression shifted, surprise melting into something that looked almost like embarrassment before hardening into defensive ice. Nathan Dawson? She said his full name like she was testing whether she'd hallucinated. What are you doing here? The man beside her frowned, looking between them. You know this guy? Jessica hesitated. We used to date. Years ago. Used to date. That was one way to describe the 2 years they'd spent together. The promises she'd made. The future they'd planned before she'd decided his future wasn't enough. Small world, Nathan said evenly. The man's eyes narrowed, reassessing Nathan with new interest, but not the kind that suggested respect. More like a dog who'd spotted potential competition and found it lacking. Chad Mitchell, the man said, not offering his hand. And you are? Nathan. Just Nathan? Chad's smile had teeth in it. No last name? Dawson. Jessica's cheeks flushed. She knew exactly who Nathan had become. The question was whether she'd told Chad. So, what brings you to Prestige Motors, Nathan? Chad emphasized his name like a challenge. Admiring the cars you can't afford? There it was. The first crack in the facade. Nathan kept his expression neutral. Something like that. Well, these cars aren't really in most people's range. Chad gestured around the showroom like he owned it. You need to have a certain level of success, you know? Not everyone can shop here. Jessica touched Chad's arm. Honey.
What?
Chad grinned. I'm just being honest. Look, Nathan, no offense, man, but if you're serious about a car, you should probably check out one of the Honda dealerships across town.
More your speed, right?
These machines. He patted the Porsche. They're for people who've actually made it. The saleswoman who dismissed Nathan earlier had drifted closer, watching the interaction with barely concealed amusement. Nathan felt the old familiar fire in his chest, not anger, not hurt, but something more powerful. Certainty. He was about to teach everyone in this showroom a lesson they'd never forget. Actually, Nathan said quietly, I think I'll stay. What happens when Nathan reveals who he really is? Drop your predictions in the comments. And if you're loving this story already, make sure you're subscribed. Nathan watched Chad's smug expression, feeling the familiar weight of a decision settling over him. He could reveal himself right now, pull out his ID, make a call, watch the color drain from Chad's face. It would be satisfying in a quick, hollow way. But Nathan hadn't built an empire by taking shortcuts. He needed to see more. Needed to understand exactly how deep the rot went in his Dallas location. If Chad and this dismissive staff were symptoms, he wanted to see the disease. You're right, Nathan said, letting defeat color his voice. These cars are probably out of my league. Chad's grin widened. Hey, no shame in knowing your limits, buddy. That's actually smart. Too many people walk in here pretending they're something they're not. He pulled Jessica closer. Isn't that right, babe? Jessica's eyes met Nathan's for a fraction of a second. There was something there, discomfort, maybe even warning, but she didn't contradict Chad. She never had been good at standing up to powerful men. That was one of the things that had ended them. Nathan had been building his second dealership when they dated, working 18-hour days, pouring everything into expansion. Jessica had wanted someone who'd already arrived, not someone still climbing. When Marcus Whitmore, old money, established family, zero ambition, had shown interest, she'd made her choice. Looking at her now, Nathan wondered if she'd ever regretted it. Or if Chad was just the next version of the same mistake. Actually, a new voice cut through the tension. I think every customer deserves respect, regardless of what they're wearing. Nathan turned. A young black woman in her mid-20s approached, her Prestige Motors badge reading, Sarah Connor, sales associate. Her natural hair was pulled back in a professional bun, and her eyes held something rare in sales: genuine kindness. "I'm Sarah," she extended her hand to Nathan, "and I'd be happy to show you whatever you'd like to see. We have vehicles at every price point, and if there's something specific you're interested in, I can help you explore financing options that work for your budget." Nathan shook her hand, noting the firmness of her grip. "Thank you." Chad laughed. "Sarah, come on. Look at him. You really think he's qualified for anything on this floor?" "I think," Sarah said evenly, "that's not for us to determine by appearance. That's what credit applications and bank statements are for." She turned back to Nathan. "What brought you in today?" Before Nathan could answer, a sharp voice called across the showroom. "Sarah, can I see you in my office?"
Now.
A man in his 50s emerged from the back. Derek Torres, the location manager. Nathan recognized him from video calls and quarterly reports, though they'd never met in person. Derek had a salesman's polish: expensive suit, perfect hair, smile that could sell ice to penguins. Right now, that smile was tight with irritation. Sarah's shoulders tensed, but she maintained her composure. "I'll be right back," she told Nathan quietly. As she walked toward Derek's office, Nathan caught fragments of a conversation. "Wasting time on tire kickers.
Commission worthy client.
How many times do I have to tell you? The office door shut." Chad chuckled. "She's still learning. Derek's going to set her straight. You can't run a luxury dealership by treating everyone like they matter. It's about knowing your market." "And you know this market?" Nathan asked casually. "Better than most." Chad straightened his tie. "I'm in commercial real estate. Mitchell Properties? We handle the premium developments. I know success when I see it." His eyes raked over Nathan again. "And when I don't?" Jessica shifted uncomfortably. "Chad, maybe we should."
What?
"I'm just being real." Chad pulled out his phone, checking something. "Besides, we're about to close on this Porsche. Derek's giving us a hell of a deal. 15% under asking." Nathan's instinct sharpened. 15% under asking? On a limited edition Porsche? That was either terrible business or something worse. "That's generous," Nathan said. "It's called relationships." Chad pocketed his phone. "Derek and I play golf. He knows how to take care of his important clients. That's how business works at this level." The showroom doors opened. A middle-aged couple walked in, the man in a work uniform with an oil company logo, the woman in casual clothes. They looked around uncertainly, taking in the luxury surrounding them. The three salespeople near the coffee bar glanced over. One muttered something. All three stayed exactly where they were. Nathan watched, his jaw tightening. The couple approached the Mercedes the other couple had been admiring earlier. The woman pointed to the price sheet in the window, and her husband shook his head slowly. They were clearly calculating, dreaming, maybe planning. No one approached them. Nathan started walking toward them, but Chad's voice stopped him. "Let me give you some advice, Nathan. Since Jessica and I go way back through you." Chad's smile was pure condescension. "Whatever you're doing with your life right now, it's not working. Look at where you are, where I am. The difference isn't luck. It's about making smart choices. Playing the right game." "Is that what you did?" Nathan asked quietly. "Damn right. I networked. Built relationships with the right people. Learned how the world actually works." He gestured around the showroom. "Places like this? They're not for dreamers. They're for winners." Nathan felt something cold settle in his chest, not anger, but clarity. This wasn't just about Chad being a jerk. This was about a culture that had infected his business. A mentality that valued appearance over substance, connections over competence, cruelty over service. Derek's office door opened. Sarah emerged, her professional mask firmly in place, but Nathan caught the slight tremor in her hands. She walked past them without making eye contact, heading toward the couple at the Mercedes. "Sarah," Derek called after her. "Those are just lookers. I need you on inventory reconciliation." Sarah stopped.
Turned.
"They're customers. They're wasting time." Derek's voice carried across the showroom. "And so are you if you engage with them." The couple heard it. Nathan saw the moment the words landed, the wife's face flushing, the husband's shoulders squaring with defensive pride. They exchanged a look, then headed toward the door. Sarah moved quickly, intercepting them. "Wait, please.
I'm so sorry about that.
Let me help you." But the damage was done. The husband shook his head, and they walked out. Sarah stood in the middle of the showroom, watching potential customers leave because of her manager's contempt. Nathan made his decision. He pulled out his phone, typing quickly, "Linda, I need you to conference call me in exactly 5 minutes. Speaker phone. Make it sound official." His executive assistant responded immediately. "On it, boss. Everything okay?"
About to be.
"You know what?" Nathan said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I think I would like to look at something. That Porsche, actually." Chad laughed. "The Porsche? Seriously?" "Seriously." "Nathan," Jessica said quietly, urgently. "Don't do this." But Nathan was done listening to Jessica's warnings 5 years too late. Derek approached, sizing Nathan up with the same dismissive calculation everyone else had used. "The Porsche 911 GT3 RS? That's a $400,000 vehicle. Are you certain you want to waste everyone's time?" "I want to see it." Derek's smile was razor-thin. "Then you'll need to provide proof of funds. We don't do test drives for curiosity seekers." "That's fine."
Fin?
Derek pulled out a tablet. "Then let's start with some basic information. Full name, current employment, annual income." Nathan's phone rang.
Loud.
On speaker. "Nathan Dawson, this is Linda Chen from Executive Administration. Do you have a moment to discuss the Dallas quarterly reports?" The showroom went silent. Every eye turned toward Nathan. And in that silence, everything was about to change. "Oh, it's about to go down. What do you think Derek's face looks like right now? Comment below. Don't forget to subscribe." Nathan let the phone ring for one more second, watching the name on his screen. Linda Chen, Executive Admin. Then he answered, keeping his voice casual but clear. "Linda, now's not a great time. I apologize, Mr. Dawson, but the Dallas location numbers need your immediate attention. The quarterly review shows significant discrepancies between reported sales and actual customer satisfaction scores. Should I schedule the board review for Monday, or do you want to handle this before the weekend?" The temperature in the showroom dropped 10 degrees. Derek Torres went white. Actually white. The tablet in his hands trembled slightly. Chad's confident smile faltered, confusion creeping into his eyes. Jessica pressed her hand to her mouth. And Sarah looked between Nathan and Derek with dawning realization, her eyes widening. "Actually, Linda," Nathan said, his voice shedding the uncertain tone he'd been using, "I'm at the Dallas location right now. Let me call you back in 20 minutes. "Of course, Mr. Dawson. Will you need security or HR on standby?" "Possibly. I'll let you know." He ended the call. The silence was deafening. Nathan slipped his phone into his pocket and looked directly at Derek.
"So,
"About that proof of funds you wanted." Derek's mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. "Mr. Dawson. I didn't realize." Clearly. Nathan's voice was ice. "You didn't realize a lot of things. Like that I might walk through my own doors. Or that treating customers like garbage might be why this location is underperforming by 23%. Your own." Chad's face went from tan to ash gray. "You own Prestige Motors?" "All 17 locations." Nathan turned to him. "The one in Houston. The 2 in Austin. The flagship store in San Antonio. And this one, which apparently has forgotten everything I built this company on." Jessica made a small sound, not quite a gasp, not quite a groan. Chad stared at her. "You dated the owner of Prestige Motors and you didn't think to mention this?" Jessica's voice cracked. "It was 5 years ago. He was just starting out then. He only had 3 locations." 3 locations is just starting out. Chad's voice climbed. "Are you kidding me right now?" Nathan ignored them, his attention locked on Derek. The couple that just walked out. How much would their purchase have been worth? Derek swallowed hard. "I don't
guess.
Maybe 60, 70,000? And you told Sarah not to help them because they were just lookers." Nathan stepped closer. "How many Just lookers have walked out of this showroom in the past 6 months because your staff decided they weren't worth the effort? Mr. Dawson, I can explain. The 3 salespeople by the coffee bar. Nathan gestured without looking. How long have they been standing there? I'm not sure. 22 minutes. I counted. 22 minutes of paid time, standing around while customers walk through the door. Nathan's voice was quiet, but it carried like thunder. Is that the standard you're setting? Derek's face flushed. We have a system. Not every customer is serious. Every customer is serious until you make them feel like they're not. Nathan turned to address the entire showroom. I started this company 12 years ago with nothing. I slept on an air mattress in my first office. I ate vending machine dinners. I know what it's like to walk into a place like this and feel like you don't belong. The 3 salespeople by the coffee bar had gone silent, their earlier amusement completely evaporated. I built Prestige Motors on one principle. Every person who walks through our doors deserves respect. Not because of what they're wearing, not because of what car they drive, but because they're human beings with dreams and dignity. His voice hardened. When did that principle die at this location? No one answered. Sarah raised her hand slightly, like a student in class. Mr. Dawson, may I speak? Please. It started about 8 months ago, when Mr. Torres introduced the Qualified Client Protocol. She glanced at Derek, nervous but determined. We were told to assess customers within 30 seconds. If they didn't meet certain visual criteria, expensive clothing, luxury watch, confident demeanor, we were supposed to politely redirect them to alternative options. Nathan's jaw clenched. Alternative options. Cheaper dealerships. Sarah's voice was barely above a whisper. We were told it was about efficiency, about focusing our energy on high-probability sales. Who authorized this protocol? Nathan looked at Derek. Derek's face was crimson now. It was a management decision based on conversion rate analysis. I didn't ask for analysis. I asked who authorized it. I did. Derek straightened, trying to recover some authority. As location manager, I have discretion to implement sales strategies that improve performance. And how's that working out? Nathan pulled out his phone, scrolling. Customer satisfaction, down 40%. Online reviews, averaged 2.3 stars in the past 6 months. Repeat business, down 62%. But let me guess, your sales numbers look okay? Derek said nothing. Because you're focusing on the easy wins. The Chads of the world. Nathan glanced at Chad, who looked like he wanted to sink through the floor. The guys who walk in already knowing what they want, who'll buy regardless of service quality. You're ignoring everyone else and calling it strategy. Mr. Dawson, Derek said desperately, if you look at the profit margins. I'm looking at a dying location. Nathan's words cut like a blade. I'm looking at a cancer that's been spreading through my business while I trusted you to run it properly. One of the salespeople near the coffee bar, a young man with perfectly styled hair, spoke up. Mr. Dawson, we were just following protocols. Derek said this was company policy. Did you ask? Nathan turned to him. Did any of you question whether treating people like garbage was really what this company stands for? The young man flushed and looked away. What's your name? Ryan. Ryan Gosling. Ryan, how long have you worked here? 14 months. In 14 months, did you ever wonder why our company mission statement, the one hanging in the break room, talks about dignity and service, but your manager was telling you to judge people by their shoes? Ryan shifted uncomfortably. I guess I thought things were different in practice than in theory. They shouldn't be. Nathan looked around the showroom. In business or in life, what you say and what you do should match. Otherwise, you're just a liar with a logo. Chad cleared his throat. Look, Nathan, Mr. Dawson, I think there's been a misunderstanding. I was just making conversation earlier. I didn't mean. You meant every word. Nathan's eyes were cold. You thought you were better than me. You thought my appearance told you everything you needed to know about my worth. And that Porsche deal you mentioned? The 15% under asking? Chad's face went pale. That's what interests me most. Nathan turned back to Derek. Why is Chad getting 15% off a limited edition Porsche? Derek's silence spoke volumes. Linda? Nathan redialed his assistant. I need you to pull every transaction for Derek Torres in the past 12 months. Cross-reference them with his personal banking records and known associates. I want to know every deal he's made and who benefited. On it, Linda's voice came through the speaker. Should I contact legal?
Yes.
And HR. I want termination paperwork ready for my review within the hour. Derek's face crumbled. Mr. Dawson, please, I have a family, a mortgage. So, do the customers you've been disrespecting. So, does Sarah, who you've been punishing for doing her job correctly. Nathan's voice was steel. You had a responsibility. You failed it. Jessica finally found her voice. Nathan, I'm so sorry. If I'd known. Known what? Nathan turned to her. Known that I'd become successful? Would that have changed how you treated me just now? How Chad treated me? She opened her mouth. Closed it. That's what I thought. Nathan felt a strange sense of closure. 5 years ago, losing Jessica had felt like losing everything. Now, seeing her stand silent while her boyfriend mocked him, he realized he'd lost nothing that mattered. Sarah. Nathan turned to the one person who'd shown integrity. Come here, please. Sarah approached cautiously, her eyes wide. How much do you make annually? 42,000.
Base salarié plus commission.
As of today, you're the interim location manager. Salary is 90,000 plus performance bonuses. Your first task is to identify any other staff members who share your values. Your second task is to call that couple who walked out and apologize personally on behalf of this company. Offer them $5,000 in credit toward any purchase. Sarah's hand flew to her mouth. Mr. Dawson, I don't know what to say. Say yes or no.
Yes. God, yes.
Thank you. Nathan pulled out a business card, his real one, with his title. My direct number. You report to me now. Any problems, any questions, you call. He turned back to Derek. You have 30 minutes to clear out your office. Security will escort you from the building. If I find evidence of kickbacks or fraud, I'll pursue criminal charges. Derek opened his mouth to argue, then saw Nathan's face and wisely stayed silent. As for you, Nathan addressed the 3 salespeople, you have one chance. Prove you can treat every customer with respect, or join Derek in the unemployment line. They nodded frantically. Nathan looked at Chad and Jessica one last time. The Porsche? Full price. No deals. If you can't afford it, there's a Honda dealership across town that might be more your speed. Chad's face turned purple, but he didn't dare respond. Nathan walked toward the door, then paused. He turned back to the showroom, his showroom, and spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. I built this company because I believed in second chances. In earning your success. In treating people the way you'd want to be treated when you have nothing. His eyes swept across every face. If you work for me, you represent those values. Not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. Especially when someone walks in wearing old jeans and scuffed shoes. Because that person might be your next CEO. Or your next $1 million client. Or just a human being who deserves basic decency. He pushed open the door. Sarah, I'll expect your report by Monday. Everyone else, prove you belong here. The autumn wind hit his face as he stepped outside, and Nathan Dawson allowed himself the smallest smile. The real work was just beginning. Yes. Nathan just dropped the mic and walked out. But wait, there's so much more to this story. What do you think happens with Jessica and Chad now? Drop your thoughts below, and if you're not subscribed yet, do it now. 3 days later, Nathan sat in his penthouse office overlooking downtown Dallas, reviewing Sarah's first report as interim manager. The document was thorough, honest, and damning. In 72 hours, she'd uncovered a systematic pattern of discrimination that went far beyond Derek's qualified client protocol. Preferred pricing for Derek's golf buddies. Inflated service charges for customers who looked like they wouldn't complain. A culture where salespeople competed to see who could dismiss the most tire kickers without getting caught. Nathan's phone buzzed. Linda's name appeared. "Tell me something good," he answered. "Legal finished the Torres investigation. It's worse than we thought." Linda's voice was grim. "He's been taking kickbacks from a local financing company. They'd refer customers, he'd steer them toward predatory loans, and he'd get a percentage. We're talking about potentially hundreds of victims over 2 years." Nathan's grip tightened on the phone. "Criminal charges?" "District attorney is interested. We're cooperating fully."
Good.
"What about the customers affected?" "We're reaching out to everyone we can identify. Offering to restructure their loans at our cost, no penalties." "Do it." Nathan rubbed his temples. "What's this going to cost us?" "Conservatively, $300,000. Maybe more. Worth every penny. Our reputation is worth more."
He paused.
"How's Sarah handling the transition?" "You should ask her yourself. She's in the lobby." Nathan straightened. "She's here?"
Now.
"Said she needed to talk to you in person. Wouldn't say why." 15 minutes later, Sarah Connor sat across from Nathan's desk, her professional composure barely masking obvious anxiety. She wore a navy pantsuit, more expensive than what she'd been wearing at the dealership, but Nathan recognized it as the kind of investment piece someone buys when they're stretching their budget to look the part. "Mr. Dawson, Nathan. Please." She took a breath. "Nathan, I need to be honest with you about something, and it might change your mind about promoting me." Nathan leaned back.
"I'm listening."
"I knew Derek was corrupt. Not the specifics, not the loans, but I knew something was wrong." Her voice shook slightly. "I saw him give preferential treatment to certain customers. I heard him tell other salespeople to focus on the right clientele. And I didn't report it." "Why not?" "Because I was scared." Sarah's eyes met his. "I'm 26. This is my first real sales job. My mom's been sick, cancer, and my insurance through Prestige Motors is the only reason she's getting treatment. I told myself I could help customers my way, be the exception, work around the system instead of challenging it." She swallowed hard. "That was cowardice. And if you want to fire me, I understand." Nathan studied her for a long moment. "What would you do differently?" "I'd report it. Immediately. No matter the cost." "Even if it meant losing your job? Your mother's insurance?" "Yes." Sarah's voice was firm now. "Because staying silent makes me complicit. And I can't build anything good on that foundation." Nathan smiled for the first time in 3 days. "Sarah, do you know why I promoted you?" "Because I try to help those customers?"
Partly.
"But mostly because you question the system. You did what you thought was right even when your boss was telling you not to." He stood, walking to the window. "Coming forward now, knowing it might cost you everything? That's exactly the kind of integrity I need leading that location." Sarah's eyes widened. "You're not firing me? I'm confirming your position."
Permanently.
"As of today, you're the Dallas location manager." He turned back to her. "But I need something from you." "Anything." "Complete honesty. Always. If you see something wrong in your location, in the company, in my leadership, you tell me. Even if you think I won't want to hear it."
Especially then.
Sarah nodded slowly. "I can do that." "Good. Now I read your report. You recommended terminating 2 of the salespeople and putting the 3rd on probation. Ryan Gosling. He's young, but I think he can learn. The other 2, she shook her head. They were actively enjoying the cruelty, making jokes about customers after they left. I don't think that's fixable." "I agree. Make it happen." Nathan pulled up his calendar. "I'm scheduling a company-wide meeting for all locations next month. I want you to present what went wrong in Dallas and how we're fixing it." Sarah paled. "In front of everyone? All the managers?" "You're one of those managers now. And your story matters. Other locations need to hear what happens when we lose sight of our values." Okay.
Yes.
I'll do it." As Sarah stood to leave, Nathan's phone buzzed again. A text from a number he hadn't seen in 5 years. "Jessica, we need to talk. Please." Nathan stared at the message, old memories surfacing. Sarah noticed his expression. Everything okay? Just a ghost from the past. He pocketed the phone. Nothing that can't wait. 2 hours later, Nathan sat in a coffee shop in Highland Park, neutral territory, at Jessica's request. She arrived 10 minutes late, her designer handbag clutched tight, her usual confidence replaced with something that looked like shame. "Thank you for meeting me," she said, sliding into the chair across from him. "You said it was important." "It is." Jessica ordered an espresso, her hands trembling slightly. "Chad and I broke up." "I'm sorry to hear that." "Don't be. You were right about him. About everything." She laughed bitterly. "He spent 3 days ranting about how you humiliated him. Not about how he'd behaved, not about what he'd said to you. Just about his embarrassment. His ego." Nathan said nothing. He tried to get the Porsche, at the discount anyway. Called in favors, threatened to sue, made a scene. Jessica's voice dropped. "I realized I'd chosen the same kind of man again. Someone who values appearance over substance. Success over character." "Jessica, let me finish. Please." She looked up, her eyes red. "When we dated, I thought you were too focused on building your business. I wanted someone who was already established, who could give me the lifestyle I thought I deserved." She wiped her eyes. "I was so stupid. You were building something real. Something that mattered. And I threw it away for men who already had wealth but no idea how to earn it." Nathan felt a complex mix of emotions, vindication, pity, and something else he couldn't quite name. "I'm not telling you this because I want you back," Jessica continued. "I know that ship sailed. I needed you to know that I'm sorry. For how I ended things. For standing there while Chad insulted you. For not seeing what you were building until it was too late." "I appreciate that," Nathan said quietly. "Are you happy?"
Now, I mean,
"With everything you've built?" Nathan thought about it. The business success, yes. The financial security, absolutely. But happy? "I'm working on it," he admitted. "Building a company is one thing. Building a life is harder." Jessica smiled sadly. "Find someone who sees you while you're building. Not just after you've arrived." After she left, Nathan sat alone with his coffee, thinking about her words. His phone buzzed. Another text, but this time from Sarah. "Just closed the deal with the couple who walked out. They bought the Mercedes. Wife cried when I apologized. This job means something again. Thank you." Nathan smiled, typing back. "Thank you. That's what Prestige Motors should be." 3 disappeared, then appeared again. "Can I ask you something personal?" "Go ahead. Why did you do the undercover thing? You could have just looked at reports, made changes from above." Nathan considered his response carefully. "Because numbers don't tell you about character. I needed to see who people really were when they thought no one important was watching. And I found out most people are exactly who they show you. But a few, like you, are better than they believe they are." A long pause. Then, "That might be the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me." Nathan stared at the message, feeling something shift in his chest. He pushed the feeling aside. Sarah worked for him. There were boundaries, professional ethics to consider. But the feeling didn't go away. The next morning, Nathan arrived at the Dallas location to find the showroom transformed. Sarah had already terminated the 2 salespeople, brought in new hires, and implemented a new training protocol. Every staff member now spent their first week learning what it felt like to be a customer, calling other dealerships, experiencing both good and bad service, understanding the emotional stakes of major purchases. "It's amazing what you can do when you're not spending energy on cruelty," Sarah told him as they walked the floor. Ryan approached, nervous but determined. "Mr. Dawson, I wanted to apologize. For the coffee bar thing, for not speaking up. I'm trying to do better." "Show me, don't tell me," Nathan said. "Who's that couple looking at the Audi?" "The Thompsons. Military family. They're celebrating his retirement. Looking for something reliable but special." "Have you talked to them?"
not yet.
"I was about to." "Then stop talking to me and go to your job." Nathan smiled. "The right way." As Ryan headed toward the couple, Sarah stood beside Nathan. You're good at this. Seeing potential in people. You made it easy. I mean it. She turned to face him. Most CEOs wouldn't have cared enough to come undercover. They'd have just fired everyone and moved on. I care about this company, about what it stands for. That's why it works. Sarah's voice softened. You're not just building a business. You're building something that matters. Their eyes met, and Nathan felt that shift again, stronger this time, impossible to ignore. Before he could respond, his phone rang. Linda. Boss, we have a problem. Big one. Nathan's stomach dropped. What kind of problem? Derek Torres just went to the media. He's claiming wrongful termination, discrimination, and retaliation. He's got a lawyer, and they're threatening a lawsuit that could cost millions and destroy our reputation. Nathan's jaw clenched. When does it go public?
Tonight.
6 o'clock news. He looked at Sarah, saw the fear in her eyes. Everything they'd been building was about to be tested. Set up a press conference, Nathan said. Tomorrow morning. I'm not letting Derek Torres control this narrative. The real fight was just beginning. Oh no. Just when things were getting better. What's Nathan going to do? And did you catch those vibes between Nathan and Sarah? Tell me what you think in the comments. Hit that subscribe button. The 6 o'clock news hit like a bomb. Nathan watched from his office as Derek Torres sat across from a sympathetic reporter, his face the picture of wounded integrity. Behind him, a graphic read, Billionaire's revenge. Worker claims retaliation after standing up to boss. I dedicated 8 years to Prestige Motors, Derek said, his voice cracking perfectly. I built the Dallas location from the ground up. And the moment I questioned some of Nathan Dawson's business practices, I was terminated without warning or cause. Nathan's phone exploded with notifications. Messages from board members, investors, other location managers. His PR team was already in crisis mode. He's good, Sarah said from the chair across his desk. She'd insisted on being there when the story broke. He's making himself look like the victim. What business practices is he talking about? Linda appeared on the office video screen, her face tight with concern. That's vague enough to make people's imaginations run wild. Derek continued, Mr. Dawson has created a culture where questioning authority means losing your livelihood, where loyalty is valued over honesty. I tried to protect customers from predatory financing. He's lying. Sarah stood abruptly. He was the one pushing those loans. I know, Nathan said quietly. But he's controlling the narrative. And without proof that plays well on camera, we're fighting an uphill battle. The reporter leaned in, concerned. Mr. Torres, you've also claimed that Mr. Dawson created a hostile work environment. Can you elaborate? He would show up unannounced, dressed in disguise, trying to catch employees making mistakes. He humiliated people publicly, including myself. Nathan felt something crack open in his chest, a wall he'd been building since Jessica left, since success had made him question everyone's motives. Sarah wasn't asking for anything. She was offering everything. Thank you, he said, and the words felt inadequate for what he meant. That night, Nathan couldn't sleep. He paced his penthouse, preparing for the press conference, anticipating every hostile question. At 2 a.m., his phone chimed. Sarah, you still up? Nathan, how did you know? Sarah, because I am too. Want company? I make terrible coffee, but I'm a good listener. Nathan hesitated for exactly 3 seconds before texting his address. She arrived 20 minutes later, wearing jeans and a sweatshirt, her hair loose around her shoulders. This wasn't manager Sarah or professional Sarah. This was just Sarah, and Nathan realized he'd never seen her like this, unguarded, real. They sat on his balcony overlooking the city, 2 cups of actually terrible coffee between them. Tell me something, Sarah said. Why does this company mean so much to you? It's not just business. Nathan was quiet for a long moment. My father worked in a factory for 30 years. Treated like he was disposable. Like his labor mattered, but his dignity didn't. He stared at the Dallas skyline. When he got sick, they let him go.
No ceremony, no gratitud.
Just a pink slip and a 2-week severance. Sarah reached over, her hand covering his. He died 6 months later. Never complained, never got angry. Just accepted that's how the world worked. Nathan's voice roughened. I built Prestige Motors because I wanted to prove it didn't have to be that way. That you could be successful and still treat people like they mattered. That's why you went undercover, Sarah said softly. You needed to know if you'd succeeded. And I found out I hadn't. At least not everywhere. But you're fixing it. That counts. Nathan turned to her. Why did you stay? At Derek's dealership. When you knew something was wrong. Sarah pulled her hand back, wrapping both around her coffee mug. My mom. But it's more than that. I grew up poor. Like really poor. Food stamps, utility shutoffs, the whole thing. Getting this job felt like winning the lottery. The thought of losing it, she shook her head. Fear makes you small. Makes you accept things you shouldn't. But you help those customers anyway. Small rebellions. Tiny acts of defiance. Sarah smiled sadly. I told myself it was enough. That I was doing my part. But it wasn't until you walked in that I realized I'd been lying to myself. About what? About what courage actually looks like. She met his eyes. Real courage isn't avoiding fear. It's acting despite it.
You showed me that.
The moment stretched between them, charged with something neither of them was quite ready to name. Sarah. Don't. She stood abruptly. Don't say anything that makes tomorrow harder. We have a fight coming. Let's focus on that. Nathan stood too. What if I want to say it anyway? Sarah's breath caught. Then say it after. When we've won. When there's no question about timing or motivation or professional boundaries. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Say it when I can hear it without wondering if it's just adrenaline or shared crisis. She was right. Nathan knew she was right. But watching her walk to the door felt like losing something before he'd even had the chance to hold it. Sarah? She turned. Thank you. For the terrible coffee. She smiled, and the warmth of it carried him through the rest of the sleepless night. 9 a.m. The press conference. The hotel ballroom was packed with reporters, cameras, microphones. Nathan stood at the podium, Sarah beside him, his legal team flanking them like soldiers preparing for battle. Harold Lecter sat in the front row, Derek Torres beside him, both wearing expressions of calculated confidence. Nathan cleared his throat. Thank you all for coming. I'm here to address the allegations made by Derek Torres against myself and Prestige Motors. Cameras flashed. Mr. Torres claims I terminated him without cause, in retaliation for questioning unethical practices. That's not just false, it's the opposite of the truth. Nathan pulled out a folder, holding up documents. 3 days ago, I visited my Dallas location undercover because customer satisfaction scores had plummeted. What I found was a systematic pattern of discrimination, predatory lending practices, and employee mistreatment, all orchestrated by Derek Torres. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. We have documented evidence of kickback schemes with a financing company, resulting in hundreds of customers being steered toward exploitative loans. We have witness testimony of discriminatory protocols that judged customers by appearance rather than actual purchasing intent. And we have audio recordings. Objection. Harold Lecter stood. You're defaming my client. This isn't a courtroom, Mr. Lecter. Nathan's voice was steel. And truth isn't defamation. He nodded to Linda, who began playing audio through the sound system. Derek's voice filled the room. I don't care if they're qualified. If they look broke, they are broke. Don't waste commission time on charity cases. Derek's face went white. Another recording. The Mitchell deal? He's giving me $3,000 under the table for the discount. Don't put that in the system. Harold Lecter was on his feet. Where did you get those recordings? That's illegal wiretapping. Security cameras, Sarah spoke up, her voice clear and strong. Every dealership has them. With audio. For safety and training purposes. It's in the employee handbook Mr. Torres signed. The room exploded with questions. Nathan held up his hand. I'm not here to destroy Derek Torres. I'm here to save my company from the corruption he represents. Every customer affected by his schemes is being contacted. We're restructuring predatory loans at our cost. We're implementing company-wide reforms to ensure this never happens again. A reporter called out, "Mr. Dawson, why did you need to go undercover? Doesn't that suggest you don't trust your own management? It suggests I take responsibility seriously. When something's wrong, I don't delegate the discovery, I do the work myself." Another reporter, "Mr. Torres claims you humiliated employees publicly. How do you respond?" I confronted unethical behavior publicly because it had been happening publicly. But I also promoted the one employee who showed integrity, Sarah Connor, who's now the Dallas location manager. All eyes turned to Sarah. She stepped forward. "I worked under Derek Torres for 2 years. I saw the discrimination. And I'm ashamed to say I stayed silent because I was afraid." Her voice shook but didn't break. "Mr. Dawson didn't just fix the problem. He showed me what real leadership looks like. That's worth more than any paycheck." The reporters were scribbling furiously. Harold Lecter tried one more time. "My client maintains." "Your client," Nathan interrupted, "is about to be charged with fraud. The district attorney is reviewing our evidence as we speak. So, unless you want to add obstruction to his legal troubles, I suggest you start negotiating a plea deal instead of slandering my company." The room went silent. Derek Torres stood, his face purple with rage. "You arrogant." "Careful," Nathan said quietly. "You're on camera." Derek's mouth snapped shut. Nathan turned back to the reporters. "I built Prestige Motors on a simple principle: treat people with dignity. When I discovered we'd failed that principle, I acted. Immediately. Decisively. That's not retaliation. It's responsibility. And I won't apologize for it." He stepped away from the podium. As the press conference dissolved into chaos, Sarah grabbed Nathan's arm. "That was incredible." "We'll see." Nathan's adrenaline was crashing, leaving exhaustion in its wake. Lecter's good. He might still find an angle. But Linda was already at his side, her tablet glowing. "Boss, you need to see this. It's trending nationwide. #Prestige Motors Transparency. People are calling you a hero." Nathan looked at the screen, watching the tide turn in real time. Then he looked at Sarah, saw the pride in her eyes, and felt something he hadn't felt in years.
Hope.
Wow. Nathan just turned the tables completely. But is it really over? What do you think happens next? Comment your predictions. And seriously, if you're loving this story, smash that subscribe button. Part 6 is coming, and trust me, you don't want to miss what happens between Nathan and Sarah. The victory lasted exactly 4 days. Nathan was reviewing expansion plans when Linda burst into his office without knocking, something she'd never done in 6 years. "We have a problem." Her face was ashen. "A big one." Nathan's stomach dropped. "What kind of problem?" Automotive Excellence magazine just published an exposé. They're claiming the Dallas situation wasn't an isolated incident. They have anonymous sources from 4 other locations saying you've created a toxic corporate culture built on fear and surveillance. Nathan grabbed the tablet she thrust at him. The headline screamed, "Prestige Motors, a culture of deception?" Multiple employees claim CEOs undercover. Tactics are systematic intimidation. His hands went cold as he read. Nathan Dawson may have positioned himself as a champion of worker rights, but sources inside Prestige Motors paint a different picture. Employees at multiple locations report a climate of constant surveillance, where questioning management decisions results in sudden performance reviews and mysterious terminations. "He doesn't trust anyone," says a sales manager who asked to remain anonymous. The undercover stunt in Dallas? That's just what got caught on camera. He's been doing it for years. We all live in fear of the boss showing up in disguise to catch us making a mistake. Another source claims Dawson plays favorites, promoting young, attractive employees over more qualified candidates. "Look at Sarah Connor," the source alleges. "She gets promoted to manager after working there for 2 years? While people with decades of experience get passed over. It's obvious what's really going on there." Nathan felt sick. "They're twisting everything," Linda said. "Making your integrity look like paranoia. Making Sarah's promotion look like Favoritism. Or worse. Nathan's voice was hollow. They're implying I promoted her because we're involved. Are you? Linda asked bluntly.
No.
But Nathan stopped. It doesn't matter what I feel. They've created doubt. His phone exploded with calls. Board members. Investors. The PR nightmare from 4 days ago was back, amplified tenfold. Thomas Anderson called immediately. Nathan, this is catastrophic. The board is calling for an emergency meeting. Some members are discussing a vote of no confidence. Based on anonymous allegations? Based on pattern recognition. The Derek situation, now this. They're worried you've become a liability. Nathan ended the call and immediately dialed Sarah. It went to voicemail. He tried again. Nothing. A text came through, but not from Sarah. From Ryan Gosling, the probationary salesman. Mr. Dawson, reporters are outside the Dallas location asking about Sarah. They're saying things. Bad things. She left through the back. She looked really upset. Nathan was out of his chair instantly. Linda, get my car ready. I'm going to Dallas. Nathan, your lawyer said. I don't care what they said. The Dallas location was under siege. News vans lined the street. Reporters crowded the entrance. Nathan pulled up to the back, using his private key to enter through the service door. Inside, the showroom was nearly empty. Ryan stood near the window, watching the chaos outside. He turned when Nathan entered. Mr. Dawson, I'm sorry. I tried to tell them Sarah's promotion was legitimate, that she earned it, but they kept asking questions about you too. About whether there was a relationship. About whether the whole Derek thing was staged. Where is she? I don't know. She got a call about an hour ago, then just left. She looked. Ryan struggled for words. Broken. Nathan tried her phone again. Straight to voicemail. He was about to leave when his phone rang. Unknown number. Nathan Dawson. Mr. Dawson, this is Grace Memorial Hospital. We have a patient here, Sarah Connor, who listed you as her emergency contact. Nathan's world tilted. What happened? She collapsed at work. We're running tests, but she's asking for you. Nathan was moving before the nurse finished talking. The hospital smell hit him as he burst through the ER doors, antiseptic and fear. A nurse directed him to room 214. He found Sarah sitting on an examination table, her face pale, and 4 in her arm. You're okay? Nathan breathed, relief flooding through him.
I've fine.
They're overreacting. But her voice was weak, her hands shaking. A doctor entered, chart in hand. Mr. Dawson?
I'm Dr. Bailey.
Ms. Connor experienced a severe panic attack combined with physical exhaustion. Her blood pressure was dangerously high. We're running cardiac tests to rule out any underlying issues. Nathan moved to Sarah's side. What triggered it? Sarah's eyes filled with tears. My mom. Nathan's chest tightened. What about your mom? The hospital called. Her cancer's back. Aggressive. They're saying 6 months, maybe less. Sarah's voice cracked. And then those reporters showed up, saying those things about us, about my promotion being fake, and I couldn't breathe. Nathan took her hand. Sarah. They're destroying everything. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Your reputation, my career, the company. And for what? Because Derek couldn't accept consequences? Because some magazine needed a story. We'll fight this.
How?
Sarah pulled her hand away. Nathan, they're questioning my competence. They're saying I only got promoted because she couldn't finish. We'll prove them wrong. Will we? Sarah's voice rose. Because they're not entirely wrong, are they? Nathan went still. There's something between us, Sarah continued, her voice breaking. I've felt it. You've felt it. And maybe I wouldn't have gotten that promotion if I was 60 years old and unattractive. Maybe they're right to question it. That's not true. You earned that position. Did I? Or did you promote me because you liked me? Her eyes met his, pleading. Tell me honestly, would you have promoted me if you didn't feel something? Nathan opened his mouth. Closed it. The truth was complicated. Yes, she'd earned it. But had his feelings influenced his decision? Even subconsciously? His hesitation was answer enough. Sarah's face crumpled. You need to fire me.
What? No.
Nathan, I'm a liability now. Every decision you make about the Dallas location, people will question. Every success I have, they'll attribute to favoritism. I'm poison to your company. She wiped her eyes. And I can't keep doing this. My mom is dying. My career is imploding. I can't be the reason your empire falls apart too. I'm not firing you. Then I quit. Sarah's voice was firm despite the tears. Effective immediately. Sarah, don't do this. I have to. She looked at him, and Nathan saw the decision was already made. I need to focus on my mom, on what time she has left. And you need to focus on saving your company. We can't do either if we're drowning in scandal. Dr. Bailey cleared her throat. I'm going to need both of you to calm down. Ms. Connor's vitals are spiking again. Nathan forced himself to breathe, to think. Okay. You're right about needing to focus on your mom. But don't make any decisions about your job right now. Take medical leave. 6 months, fully paid. Focus on your family. Nathan, that's an order. From your CEO. Not your, he trailed off, not knowing how to finish that sentence. Sarah closed her eyes. Okay. Outside the hospital, Nathan sat in his car, his phone buzzing with increasingly urgent messages. The board meeting was in 2 hours. His lawyers were advising him to step down temporarily. His PR team was in full damage control mode. And Sarah was in a hospital room, her whole world collapsing. A call came through. Jessica. Nathan almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. I saw the news, Jessica said without preamble. The magazine article. It's bullshit, Nathan. How would you know? Because I know you. Whatever feelings you have for that woman, and yes, I can see them from space, you wouldn't compromise your principles for them. You're not built that way. Nathan said nothing. But you're about to make a mistake, Jessica continued. You're about to let them take everything from you. Your company, your reputation, your chance at happiness. Because you're scared of looking weak. I'm not scared. You're terrified. I know because I did the same thing. I chose security over love, reputation over authenticity. And I've regretted it every day since. Jessica's voice softened. Don't make my mistake. Fight for what matters. Not just the company, fight for her. She quit. Then fight harder. Jessica paused. The man who built an empire from nothing doesn't give up because the battle got difficult. That's not who you are. After she hung up, Nathan sat in the silence of his car, watching the hospital entrance. Everything was falling apart. The board might vote him out. The company's reputation was in tatters. Sarah was breaking under the weight of everything. And somehow, Nathan needed to find a way to save it all. But for the first time in his life, he wasn't sure he could. 2 hours later in the boardroom, Nathan faced the 12 members who held his fate in their hands. Mr. Dawson, the chairwoman began, we've reviewed the magazine article and the social media response. The damage to our brand is significant. We believe. I'm not stepping down, Nathan interrupted. Nathan, Thomas Anderson warned from his left. I'm not stepping down, and I'm not settling, and I'm not hiding. Nathan stood, placing both hands on the table. Prestige Motors was built on truth. Not convenience. Not optics. Truth. And the truth is, we had a corrupt manager who got caught and is now trying to burn down the company rather than face consequences. The allegations go beyond Derek Torres, a board member said. Multiple locations. Anonymous allegations. From sources we can't verify. Conveniently published by a magazine that's been trying to get an interview with me for months, which I declined. Nathan pulled up his tablet. Linda, show them. Linda displayed emails on the screen. Automotive Excellence magazine has been increasingly hostile in their requests. When Mr. Dawson refused to give them exclusive access, they made it clear they'd run negative coverage. That doesn't disprove the allegations, another board member argued. No. But this does. Nathan nodded to Linda again. She displayed a new document. We pulled employment records for all 17 locations. Cross-reference promotion timelines with performance reviews, sales numbers, and customer satisfaction scores. Every single promotion Mr. Dawson has made, including Sarah Connor's, was merit-based and documented with clear justification. And the surveillance claims? The chairwoman asked. I visited 3 locations undercover in 12 years. 3. Hardly a pattern of systematic intimidation. Nathan's voice was steady. I'm not perfect, but I'm not what they're saying I am. And neither is this company. The room was silent. I need you to make a choice, Nathan continued. You can vote me out, protect yourselves, and watch Prestige Motors become just another soulless corporation. Or you can stand with me, fight this battle, and prove that integrity still matters in business. And if we lose, someone asked, then we lose with our dignity intact. Nathan met each person's eyes. That's worth more than any quarterly profit. The chairwoman looked around the table. All in favor of maintaining Mr. Dawson as CEO and supporting his strategy. Slowly, hands began to rise.
Not all of them.
But enough. Nathan felt something crack in his chest, not breaking but opening. He still had a company to save, a reputation to rebuild. And somehow, someway, he needed to find Sarah and tell her what Jessica had been right about. Some things were worth fighting for, even when the fight seemed impossible. What's going to happen? Can Nathan save everything? And will Sarah come back? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed. Nathan didn't go back to his office after the board meeting. Instead, he drove to the last place anyone would expect to find a billionaire CEO, a small community center in East Dallas, where Sarah had once mentioned her mother volunteered. He found exactly what he was looking for, a bulletin board covered with photos from various events. And there, in the center, a picture of Sarah and her mother at a charity fundraiser, both wearing bright smiles. The woman at the front desk, her name tag read Ellen Ripley, noticed him staring. That's Maria Connor, she said warmly. One of our angels. Haven't seen her in a few months, though. I heard she's been sick. She has cancer, Nathan said quietly. It's back. Ellen's face fell. Oh no.
Sweet Jesus.
Sarah must be devastated. Do you know where they live?
Ellen hesitated, studying Nathan carefully.
You're that CEO, aren't you? The one from the news. Nathan braced himself for judgment. Sarah talked about you, Ellen continued. Before all this media circus. She said you were the first boss who ever made her feel like her work mattered. Like SHE mattered. Ellen wrote something on a piece of paper. She's probably at her mother's house. They live together. She handed Nathan the address. Thank you. Mr. Dawson? Ellen called as he turned to leave. Whatever the news is saying, I know Sarah. That girl wouldn't stay somewhere she didn't believe in. If she worked for you, believed in you, that tells me everything I need to know. The Connor house was modest, a small one-story in a working-class neighborhood, the kind of place where people knew their neighbors and looked out for each other. Nathan knocked, his heart hammering. Sarah opened the door, surprise and wariness crossing her face. Nathan, what are you doing here? I needed to see you. The board meeting. I survived. Barely. But that's not why I'm here. He gestured to the door. Can I come in? Sarah hesitated, then stepped aside. The house was clean but worn, filled with the kind of furniture that lasted because it had to, not because it was stylish. Family photos covered every surface. Sarah as a child, gap-toothed and grinning. Sarah graduating high school. Sarah and her mother at various events. This was where she'd grown up, where she'd learned to fight for everything she had. Mom's sleeping, Sarah said quietly. The pain medication knocks her out. How is she?
Dying. Slowly.
Painfully. Sarah's voice cracked. The doctors say 6 months, but it could be less.
Could be more.
There's no certainty in any of this. Nathan moved closer. Sarah, I'm so sorry. It's not your fault. She wrapped her arms around herself. None of this is your fault. The magazine, the allegations, the board, I brought all of that to your door. That's not true. Isn't it? Sarah's eyes were red-rimmed but fierce. If you'd never promoted me, if you'd kept me as just a salesperson, none of this would have happened. They can't claim favoritism if there's nothing to point to. They would have found something else. People who want to destroy you don't need facts, they just need fear. Nathan took a breath. But you were right about something. At the hospital, you asked if I would have promoted you if I didn't have feelings for you. Sarah went still. The answer is yes, Nathan continued. I would have. Because you earned it. Your sales numbers, your customer satisfaction scores, your integrity. All of it was documented long before I acknowledged what I felt. He stepped closer. But here's the truth I couldn't say then. My feelings made me more careful, not less. I triple-checked everything. Made sure the promotion was bulletproof. Because I knew people would question it. Nathan. I'm not done. His voice was firm but gentle. You think you're a liability. That you're hurting my company. But you're wrong. You're the best thing that's happened to Prestige Motors in years. Not because of sales numbers or performance metrics. Because you reminded me why I built this company in the first place. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. I visited that location because I'd lost touch with the ground level. I'd become so focused on expansion and profit that I forgot about the people. Nathan moved closer still. You showed me what real integrity looks like. Not the easy kind, when everyone's watching. The hard kind, when staying silent is safer. I was a coward, Sarah whispered. I stayed silent for 2 years. And then you didn't. That's what matters. Nathan reached for her hand. Sarah, I know this is terrible timing. Your mom is sick, the company's in crisis, everything's falling apart. But I need you to know something. What? I'm in love with you. The words hung in the air between them. Sarah's breath caught. Nathan. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to feel the same way. I couldn't let another day pass without being honest. Nathan squeezed her hand gently. Whatever happens with the company, with the media, with all of it, I needed you to know that you matter. Not as an employee. Not as a manager. As a person. As the woman who made me believe in something more than just success. A tear rolled down Sarah's cheek. I told you to wait. To say this after we'd won. I know. But I realized something. Nathan smiled sadly. Life doesn't wait for perfect moments. Your mom taught you that, didn't she? That you have to grab happiness when you can, because tomorrow isn't guaranteed. Sarah let out a sound between a laugh and a sob.
She did.
Every day. Don't wait for someday, she'd say. Someday is a country that doesn't exist. Smart woman. The smartest. Sarah looked toward the hallway where her mother slept. I want to be with you. God, I want that so much. But I can't. I can't do both. I can't focus on us and on her and on the company. Something will break. Someone will get hurt. Then let me help carry it. Nathan's voice was steady. You don't have to do this alone. Let me be here. For your mom. For you. However you need me. You have a company to save. I have a life to build. The company is just part of it. Nathan cupped her face gently. Sarah, I spent 5 years building an empire and forgot to build a home. Don't make me wait another 5 years to figure out what matters. Sarah closed her eyes, leaning into his touch. When she opened them again, something had shifted. If we do this, if we try, the media will destroy us. Let them try. Nathan smiled. I'm getting pretty good at fighting back. Sarah laughed through her tears. Then she kissed him. It wasn't desperate or passionate. It was soft, honest, real, the kind of kiss that promised something deeper than just attraction. It was two people choosing each other despite impossible odds. When they pulled apart, Sarah rested her forehead against his. My mom would like you. Would.
Will.
She's going to wake up and you're going to be here, and she's going to have so many questions. Sarah smiled. Fair warning, she's relentless when she smells romance. I can handle relentless. 2 days later, Nathan stood in his office with Linda, Thomas Anderson, and a woman he'd never met before, Clarice Starling, an investigative journalist with the Dallas Tribune. Mr. Dawson, thank you for agreeing to meet, Clarice said. setting up her recorder. I'll be honest. I'm here because I think Automotive Excellence magazine got it wrong. Nathan raised an eyebrow. What makes you think that? Because I did what they didn't, actual research. Clarice pulled out a folder thick with documents. I interviewed 43 current and former Prestige Motors employees across all 17 locations. Want to know what I found? Tell me. That the anonymous sources in the magazine article? They all trace back to 3 people. Derek Torres, who's facing criminal charges. Harold Lecter, his lawyer, who has a history of fabricating evidence. And one disgruntled former employee from your Houston location who was fired for sexual harassment 3 years ago. Nathan leaned forward. I also found dozens of employees who had nothing but praise for you. Stories of you paying for someone's mother's surgery. Of you personally mentoring young salespeople. Of you shutting down an entire location for a day to attend a staff member's funeral. Clarice met his eyes. The picture that emerged isn't of a tyrant. It's of someone who actually gives a damn. Why are you telling me this? Because I want to write the real story. The one about a CEO who went undercover not to catch people failing, but to understand where his company was failing them. Clarice paused. And because I think the Sarah Connor angle is bullshit. Excuse me? I pulled her employment records, with her permission. Her promotion was more than earned. If anything, you probably should have promoted her sooner. Clarice smiled. Though I'll admit, the part where you two fell for each other makes for better storytelling. Nathan felt something shift in his chest. You'll publish this? Front page. Tomorrow. If you give me an exclusive interview. What do you want to know? Everything. The undercover visit, the Derek situation, the board meeting. Clarice's eyes were sharp but kind. And yes, Sarah Connor. Because the personal story matters too. It's what makes the business story real. Nathan looked at Thomas, who nodded slowly. Okay, Nathan said. Let's tell the truth. That evening, Nathan returned to the Connor house. Maria was awake, sitting in the living room with Sarah, a blanket over her lap. She was thin, her skin pale, but her eyes were bright with interest when Nathan entered. So you're the billionaire, Maria said, her voice weak but warm. I'm Nathan, he replied, sitting across from her. Sarah says you love her. Mom. Sarah's face turned red.
What? I'm dying.
I don't have time for subtlety. Maria studied Nathan. Do you? Nathan met her gaze steadily. Yes, ma'am.
Ido.
Why? Because she's brave when she thinks she's being cowardly. Because she stands up for what's right even when it costs her. Because she makes me want to be the person I claimed to be when I started this company. Nathan glanced at Sarah, saw the tears in her eyes. And because she makes terrible coffee but stays up with you anyway when you can't sleep. Maria laughed, which turned into a cough. Sarah was at her side immediately with water. When Maria recovered, she looked between them both. Life's too short for someday. That's what I tell Sarah. That's what I'm telling you both now. Her eyes were fierce despite her frailty. Don't wait for perfect circumstances. They don't exist. Fight for each other now, while you can. Nathan took Sarah's hand. Yes, ma'am. Maria smiled, settling back into her cushions. Good. Now someone tell me what's actually happening with this company scandal. Sarah keeps trying to protect me, but I watch the news. So they told her. Everything. The undercover visit, Derek's corruption, the magazine article, the board meeting, tomorrow's Tribune story. Maria listened, asked sharp questions, and when they finished, she shook her head. Sounds like you're winning to me. How do you figure? Sarah asked. Because you're both still fighting. Still together. Still believing in something. Maria closed her eyes, exhausted but content. That's all winning ever is. Refusing to give up on what matters. As Nathan helped Sarah get her mother to bed later, he realized Maria Connor had taught him more about success in one evening than a decade of business books ever had. Some battles weren't about markets or profits. They were about love, integrity, and the courage to choose both even when the world told you to pick one. Nathan was done choosing. He was taking everything. Oh my God. Nathan and Sarah are together. Maria is amazing. And the real story is about to come out. Are you ready for the climax? Comment what you think happens in the final confrontation. Subscribe if you haven't. The Dallas Tribune hit newsstands at 6 a.m. By 6:15, Nathan's phone was exploding. The headline sprawled across the front page. The real Prestige Motors story. How a billionaire CEO exposed corruption in his own company and fell in love doing it. Clarice Starling had done more than write an article. She'd crafted a narrative so thoroughly researched, so powerfully told, that it was impossible to dismiss. Photos of Derek's lavish lifestyle funded by kickbacks. Testimonials from 43 employees praising Nathan's leadership. Financial documents proving every promotion was merit-based. And there, in the center spread, was a photo. Nathan and Sarah at the community center helping Maria with a charity event from months ago, before any of this started. The caption read, "Before the scandal, before the allegations, Sarah Connor was already proving her worth." The question isn't whether she earned her promotion. It's why anyone thought she hadn't. Nathan read the article 3 times, Sarah beside him on her mother's couch, Maria sitting in her favorite chair with her own copy. "Listen to this part," Maria said, her voice stronger today. Nathan Dawson didn't go undercover because he distrusts his employees. He did it because he refuses to be the kind of leader who hides from uncomfortable truths. In an era where CEOs insulate themselves from reality, Dawson walked into his own dealership prepared to see the worst and brave enough to fix it. Sarah squeezed Nathan's hand. "She gets it." "She got all of it," Nathan murmured, reading further. The article detailed Derek's criminal investigation, Harold Lecter's history of fabricating evidence, and the disgruntled ex-employee's sexual harassment termination. By the time readers finished, there was no question who the real villains were. Nathan's phone rang. "Thomas Anderson. Have you seen the response?" His lawyer sounded almost giddy. "Twitter's on fire. #StandWithPrestige is trending #1 nationwide. Derek Torres is getting absolutely destroyed in the comments. And Harold Lecter?" Thomas laughed. 3 of his other clients just dropped him. "What about our board?" The chairwoman already called. "They're voting today to issue a public statement of full support for your leadership." "Nathan, you didn't just survive this, you won." After hanging up, Nathan looked at Sarah. "We won." "You won," Sarah corrected gently.
No.
Nathan took both her hands. "We won. Together." Maria cleared her throat. "As much as I'm enjoying this romantic moment, you two have somewhere to be." They looked at her, confused. "The Dallas location," Maria said, like it was obvious. "You're going to walk in there, together, and show everyone that you're not hiding. That you're proud of what you built, both the company and whatever this is between you." "Mom, the media will be everywhere." "Good." Maria's eyes were fierce. "Let them see. Let them write their stories. Let the world know that integrity and love aren't weaknesses. They're what make the fight worthwhile." 2 hours later, Nathan and Sarah pulled up to Prestige Motors Dallas. Just as Maria predicted, news vans lined the street. Reporters crowded the entrance. But this time, the crowd was different. Interspersed with journalists were customers, people holding signs reading "Thank you Prestige Motors" and "Integrity Matters" and "We Stand with Sarah." Ryan Gosling stood at the entrance with the entire Dallas staff, all wearing matching Prestige Motors shirts. When he saw Nathan's car, he grinned and started clapping. The applause spread. Nathan and Sarah stepped out of the car together, their hands intertwined. Cameras flashed everywhere. A reporter called out, "Mr. Dawson, is it true you and Ms. Connor are in a relationship?" Nathan looked at Sarah, saw her nod. "Yes," Nathan said clearly. "Sarah and I are together." And before anyone asks, no, that didn't influence her promotion. Her talent did that. My feelings for her just made me lucky enough to see it up close. Another reporter, "Ms. Connor, how do you respond to allegations that you benefited from favoritism?" Sarah stepped forward, her voice steady. "I respond by inviting anyone to review my employment records. My sales numbers. My customer satisfaction scores. They're all public record now. thanks to Ms. Starling's investigation. She paused. I earned my position. And I'd do it again, regardless of who was watching. What about Derek Torres? Someone shouted. What about him? Nathan's voice turned cold. Derek Torres systematically exploited customers, discriminated against them, and when he got caught, tried to destroy innocent people rather than accept responsibility. He's facing criminal charges. That's justice. There are rumors he's planning a tell-all book. Nathan smiled grimly. Let him write it. Truth isn't afraid of lies. Ryan stepped forward then, holding a microphone. Can I say something? The crowd quieted. I'm Ryan Gosling. I work here. I was one of the people standing around doing nothing when Mr. Dawson walked in undercover. Ryan's voice shook slightly. I'm not proud of that, but I'm grateful he gave me a chance to do better. Since Sarah became manager, this place has changed. We're not just selling cars anymore, we're helping people achieve dreams. And that matters. Other staff members nodded, some adding their own testimonials. The narrative was shifting in real time, from scandal to redemption. Then, movement at the edge of the crowd. Derek Torres pushed through, Harold Lecter beside him, both looking desperate. You ruined my life, Derek shouted at Nathan. I gave 8 years to this company and you destroyed me over one mistake. Nathan's expression didn't change. One mistake? Try hundreds. Try systematic fraud. I want my job back. I want compensation. You want to avoid prison, Nathan interrupted. That's what this is really about. Harold Lecter stepped forward. Mr. Dawson, my client is willing to drop all allegations in exchange for a settlement.
No.
Nathan's voice was absolute. No settlement.
No payoff.
No making this go away quietly. He looked directly at Derek. You had a choice. When I built this company, I built it on principles.
Dignity.
Respect. Service. You could have upheld those principles. You chose profit over people. Cruelty over character. I made you rich. Derek's face was purple. Your precious company makes millions because people like me sell cars. No, Sarah said, stepping beside Nathan. The company succeeds because people trust us. Because we kept promises. Because we treated customers like human beings. Her voice rose. You didn't build anything, Derek. You exploited what Nathan built. There's a difference. The crowd murmured agreement. Derek looked around, seeing he'd lost. This isn't over. Yes, Nathan said quietly. It is. Your lawyer can contact mine about the criminal proceedings. But this. He gestured to the crowd, the cameras, the moment. This is done. You're done. Security, called by Ryan, arrived to escort Derek and Harold away. As they left, Derek shouted threats, but his voice faded into irrelevance. Nathan turned to the cameras. I want to say something to everyone watching. Building a business is hard. Building it right is harder. There will always be people who choose shortcuts, who value profit over principles, who think success means standing on others. He pulled Sarah closer. But real success? It's measured in trust. In relationships. In the ability to look at yourself in the mirror and know you did right by people. Nathan's voice was firm. Prestige Motors wasn't built by one person. It was built by every employee who treated customers with dignity. Every manager who chose honesty over easy lies. Every person who believed that how you succeed matters as much as whether you succeed. Applause erupted. Nathan smiled. We're going to keep building. Keep improving. And we're going to do it transparently with integrity, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Inside the showroom, away from cameras, Nathan found a quiet moment with Sarah. You were amazing out there, he said. I was terrified. Couldn't tell. He touched her face gently. How's your mom? Watching from home. Probably crying. Sarah smiled through her own tears. She's so proud. Of both of us. Sarah, I know this is complicated. The company, your mom's health, us figuring out what we are. I know what we are, Sarah interrupted. We're two people who found each other in the middle of chaos and decided that was okay. That we were worth fighting for. She kissed him softly. Everything else, we'll figure out together. Nathan rested his forehead against hers. Together. A knock on the office door. Linda poked her head in. Sorry to interrupt, but Nathan, you need to see this. She held up her tablet. On screen was a live feed from the district attorney's office. We're announcing charges against Derek Torres and Harold Lecter. Multiple counts of fraud, conspiracy, and evidence tampering. We're also investigating Automotive Excellence magazine for their role in publishing fabricated allegations. Nathan felt the last weight lift from his shoulders. It was over. Really, truly over. That evening, Nathan returned to the Connor house for dinner. Maria had insisted, despite her exhaustion, on cooking. Sarah tried to stop her, but Maria was stubborn. I'm dying, Maria said cheerfully, stirring pasta sauce. I can do what I want. They ate together, Nathan, Sarah, and Maria, around a small kitchen table, talking about everything except cancer and scandal. Maria told embarrassing stories about Sarah's childhood. Nathan shared tales of his early business disasters. Sarah laughed more than she had in months. After dinner, as Nathan was leaving, Maria pulled him aside. Thank you, she said quietly. For what? For loving my daughter the right way. For seeing her worth before the world did. For fighting for her when she couldn't fight for herself. Maria's eyes were wet. I won't be here to see where this goes. But I know it's going somewhere good. Nathan's throat tightened. I promise you, I'll take care of her. She doesn't need taking care of. She needs someone who stands beside her. Who fights with her, not for her. Maria smiled. You already know that. That's why this works. She hugged him, frail but fierce, and Nathan understood that he was receiving a blessing more valuable than any business victory. As he drove home that night, his phone buzzed with one final notification. A video message from the community center. Ellen Ripley stood at the podium where Maria usually stood. Mr. Dawson, this is Ellen from the community center. Maria asked me to tell you something before she got too sick. She said, tell that billionaire boy that love and integrity aren't weaknesses in business. They're the whole point. And if he forgets that, I'll haunt him.
Ellen left.
She wanted you to know she's watching. And she's proud. Nathan pulled over, tears streaming down his face. He'd won the company back. Cleared his name.
Exposé de corruption.
Found love. But somehow, Maria Connor's approval meant more than all of it. Because she understood what really mattered. And she taught her daughter the same lesson. The next morning, Prestige Motor stock opened 23% higher. Applications for employment flooded in. Customer calls increased by 400%. But Nathan's proudest moment came when Sarah called him from the Dallas showroom. You won't believe this, she said, laughing and crying simultaneously. Remember that couple who walked out? The Thompsons. Of course. They just came back. With 5 of their friends. All military families. All ready to buy cars. Sarah's voice broke. Nathan, they said they came back because they read the story. Because they wanted to support a company that stood for something. Nathan smiled, looking out over the city he'd conquered not through ruthlessness, but through refusal to compromise his values. Tell them welcome home, Nathan said. And Sarah? Yeah, I love you. I love you too. The fight was won. But the real victory was just beginning. Yes, justice. Love. Redemption. But wait, there's still one more part. The conclusion that ties everything together perfectly. Drop a comment about your favorite moment from this story. And if you're not subscribed yet, do it now. 6 months later, Nathan stood in the newly renovated Dallas showroom, watching the morning sun stream through floor-to-ceiling windows. The space had been completely transformed, not just aesthetically, but spiritually. Where there had once been cold marble and intimidating luxury, there was now warmth. Comfortable seating areas. A children's play corner. A coffee bar that actually welcomed people instead of serving as a staff hangout spot. On the wall, a bronze plaque read, "The Maria Connor Memorial Showroom, where every customer matters." Sarah appeared beside him, her hand finding his automatically. It was a gesture so natural now that Nathan couldn't remember a time when they hadn't fit together like this. She would have loved this, Sarah said softly, touching the plaque. She does love it, Nathan corrected gently. Somewhere. Maria had passed 3 months ago, surrounded by family, at peace. Her final words to Sarah had been, "Don't you dare stop living because I stopped breathing. Promise me." Sarah had promised. And she'd kept that promise, even through the grief. "You ready for today?" Nathan asked. Sarah took a deep breath. "As ready as I'll ever be." Today was the company-wide meeting Nathan had scheduled months ago, the one where Sarah would present what went wrong in Dallas and how they'd fixed it. But it had evolved into something more. The unveiling of the Connor Initiative, a comprehensive program ensuring every Prestige Motors location upheld the values Maria had embodied. The conference room at corporate headquarters was packed. Managers from all 17 locations, plus the board members, key investors, and media representatives Clarice Starling had personally vetted. Nathan opened the meeting with a reflection on the past 6 months. "When I went undercover in Dallas, I thought I was investigating a problem. I didn't realize I was about to discover a solution." He gestured to Sarah. "Sarah Connor showed me that culture isn't built from the top down. It's built from the ground up, by people who refuse to compromise their values even when it's easier to stay silent." Sarah took the podium, her confidence visible but earned, not performed. "6 months ago, I was terrified," she began. "Terrified of losing my job. Terrified of speaking up. Terrified that doing the right thing would cost me everything." She paused. "I was right. It did cost me. It cost me my comfort, my safety, my ability to hide." The room was silent, but what I gained was worth infinitely more. I gained integrity, purpose, and the knowledge that I could look at myself in the mirror without shame. Sarah pulled up a presentation. "The Connor Initiative isn't named after me. It's named after my mother, who spent her life teaching me that how you treat people when no one important is watching reveals who you really are." The presentation outlined sweeping changes: mandatory dignity training for all staff, anonymous reporting systems for customer mistreatment, promotion criteria that emphasized character as much as sales numbers, and quarterly undercover visits, not as gotcha moments, but as genuine attempts to understand customer experience. "Every location will have a Connor Initiative liaison," Sarah continued. "Someone whose sole job is to ensure we're living our values, not just posting them on break room walls." When she finished, the applause was immediate and genuine. Ryan Gosling stood. "Ms. Connor, I have a question." "Of course." "The liaison position, is that open to people who used to be part of the problem? People who want to do better?" Sarah smiled. "Ryan, the whole point is that people can change. If you're committed to the work, you're exactly who we need." After the meeting, Nathan and Sarah escaped to his office. The adrenaline was fading, leaving exhaustion and relief. "You were incredible," Nathan said, pulling her close. "I was terrified the entire time. Couldn't tell." He kissed her forehead. "Your mom would have been so proud." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "I keep expecting to call her,
To tell her about my day.
and then I remember." "I know." Nathan held her tighter. "But Sarah, she's in everything you do. Every customer you help with dignity. Every employee you mentor. Every time you refuse to compromise your values. That's her legacy." "It's your legacy too," Sarah said quietly. "You built something worth protecting. Worth fighting for." A knock on the door interrupted them. Linda entered, holding an envelope. "This just arrived. Marked urgent." Nathan opened it, his expression shifting from curiosity to shock. "What is it?" Sarah asked. "It's from Jessica." Nathan read the letter aloud. "Nathan, I heard about Maria's passing.
I'm so sorry.
I never met her, but from everything Sarah said, she sounds like the kind of woman who understood what really matters. I'm writing because I owe you both something, the truth about the Automotive Excellence magazine article. Chad was behind it. After you humiliated him at the dealership, he contacted Derek Torres. They conspired together to manufacture the story. Chad fed them the anonymous sources about your other locations. He paid them to publish it. I found out last month when I was packing his things. We broke up permanently. I contacted the Tribune, and they're running a follow-up story exposing Chad's role. I know it's too late to undo the damage, but I wanted you to know the whole truth. You deserve happiness, Nathan. Both of you do. I hope you found it. Jessica. Sarah stared at the letter. Chad did all that. Apparently, Nathan felt a strange mix of vindication and pity. His ego couldn't handle being exposed. What do you want to do? Nathan thought for a moment, then folded the letter carefully. Nothing. Chad's already miserable, living in his own bitterness. That's punishment enough. He looked at Sarah. I'm done fighting old battles. I want to focus on building something new. Sarah kissed him. I love you. I love you too. 3 months later, Nathan and Sarah stood on a beach in Maui, the sunset painting the sky in impossible colors. It had taken Nathan 6 months to convince Sarah to take a vacation, but she'd finally agreed. They walked barefoot on the sand, hands intertwined, talking about everything and nothing. Can I ask you something? Nathan said suddenly. Always. Do you ever regret it? Everything that happened. The scandal, the pain, losing your mom in the middle of all that chaos. Sarah stopped walking, turning to face him. I regret that my mom got sick. I regret that Derek Torres existed. But the rest? She cupped Nathan's face.
No.
Because it led me here.
To you.
To a life that matters. Nathan reached into his pocket, pulling out a small velvet box. Sarah's breath caught. I know this might seem fast, Nathan said, dropping to one knee in the sand. But your mom taught me something. She said someday is a country that doesn't exist. I don't want to wait for someday anymore. He opened the box. Inside was a simple, elegant ring, not flashy, not ostentatious, but perfect. Sarah Connor, you made me remember why I built Prestige Motors. You showed me that success without integrity is just expensive failure. You taught me that love isn't a distraction from purpose, it's the whole point. Nathan's voice shook. Will you marry me? Sarah was crying, laughing, nodding all at once.
Yes.
God, yes. Nathan slid the ring onto her finger, then stood, lifting her off the ground as they kissed. Around them, other beachgoers noticed and began applauding. When they finally pulled apart, Sarah was grinning. My mom would have loved this. She was always a sucker for romance. I know, Nathan said. I asked her permission before she died. Sarah's eyes widened. You did. The night before she passed. She was barely conscious, but I told her I was going to marry you. Asked if she approved. Nathan smiled through his own tears. She squeezed my hand 3 times. I took that as a yes. Sarah buried her face in his chest, sobbing and laughing simultaneously. She would have been so happy. She was happy. Because you were happy. Nathan held her close. That's all she ever wanted. 1 year later, Prestige Motors had expanded to 23 locations. Each one bore a plaque with Maria Connor's quote, "How you treat people when no one important is watching reveals who you really are." The Connor Initiative had become an industry model. Other dealerships were adopting similar programs. Business schools were teaching case studies on Nathan's undercover visit and the cultural transformation that followed. Derek Torres had pled guilty to fraud charges and was serving a 3-year sentence. Harold Lecter had been disbarred. Chad Mitchell's real estate business had collapsed under the weight of his exposed vindictiveness. Automotive Excellence magazine had issued a public apology and retraction. But those victories felt distant now. What mattered was the present. Nathan and Sarah's wedding was small, intimate, held at the community center where Maria had volunteered.
Ellen Ripley officioted.
Ryan Gosling was the best man. The entire Dallas staff attended, along with employees from other locations who'd been touched by the Connor Initiative. Jessica sent flowers with a note, "To the love story that proved me wrong about everything. Congratulations." As Nathan and Sarah exchanged vows, the community center filled with people who understood what they were really witnessing, not just a wedding, but a celebration of everything they'd fought for. Integrity.
Love.
The belief that doing right mattered more than looking right. "I promise to stand beside you," Nathan said, his voice clear and strong. "Not above you, not behind you, but beside you. To fight with you, dream with you, build with you. To treat our relationship with the same integrity we demand from our business. To never forget that love and honor aren't weaknesses, they're the whole point." Sarah's vows were equally powerful. "I promise to never stop believing in what we built together. To challenge you when you're wrong. To celebrate you when you're right. To remember that success without soul is just an expensive form of failure. And to love you with the same courage my mother taught me, fiercely, honestly, without reservation." When they kissed, the applause was deafening. 5 years later, Nathan stood in the new Prestige Motors headquarters, a building designed with the same values as the company. Sustainable materials. Open floor plans that encouraged collaboration. A daycare for employees' children. A counseling center for staff dealing with personal challenges. On his desk was a framed photo: Nathan, Sarah, and their 2-year-old daughter, Maria, at the beach. Little Maria had her mother's eyes and her grandmother's fierce spirit. Sarah appeared in the doorway, their daughter on her hip. Someone wanted to say goodnight to Daddy before bed. Nathan scooped Maria into his arms. "Good night, princess." "Read story?" Maria asked hopefully. "One story," Sarah said firmly. "Then bed." Nathan carried Maria to the couch in his office, the one specifically there for moments like this, and pulled out a children's book. But Maria shook her head. "Tell Grandma's story," she demanded. It was her favorite. The story of how Grandma Maria had taught Mommy and Daddy about courage and integrity and love. So Nathan told it. Again. Because some stories were worth repeating. When Maria finally fell asleep, Sarah sat beside Nathan, her head on his shoulder. "You know what I realized today?" she said quietly. "What?" "We won. Not the way I thought we would. Not by destroying our enemies or proving them wrong. We won by refusing to become what they wanted us to be." Sarah looked up at him. "We stayed us. That's the real victory." Nathan kissed her softly. "Your mom knew that all